Hi everybody, this is Becca, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your criticism review presentation assignment that is coming up. This will be a presentation, so you will need to record that and present it to the class, which I'll talk about a little bit more here in a few minutes, but I also wanted to talk about what I expect from this presentation. So I have your instruction sheet pulled up here, and I got to this by going to our assignments section and then going to assignment descriptions, which if you haven't been in this folder yet, you really need to be in here. This gives you all of the assignment sheets with instructions on what I expect for all of your assignments. So make sure you are coming in here and taking a look at all of those. So that is how I got here to this sheet. And what I'm expecting from you for this presentation is that you will choose one of the stories from the Reading More Fiction section, which I have listed your options here. You need to choose from this list. And then you're going to find an article from the library databases that is about the story that you chose and tell us about that article. So the goal here is to get you familiar with using the library databases, because you are going to use those later in the semester when you write your final analysis paper, and also to get you reading some criticism and telling us about some more stories and getting some more exposure to some fiction. So first step is going to be choosing a topic. You need to choose one of these stories. These are first come, first serve, so once somebody chooses a story, that is their story. You can't choose the same story, so you want to get on that sooner rather than later. Make sure whatever story that you choose, you are actually interested in that story. You can find an article. You are ready to work with that story. So you might want to read some of those ahead of time so that you understand what the stories are about, things like that. Once you know what story you want to do, you need to post it in the discussion board. There's one available there for you to post your choices. Make sure you're looking at other people's choices before you post your own choice so that you know you are not choosing something that somebody else has already chosen. After you've chosen your story, you need to find an article in the library databases. This article needs to, one, be from Edison's databases. This is a requirement for the presentation. You need a library card to do this assignment if you're going to do the databases from home. If you are on campus using one of the campus computers, you can access the databases without a library card. But if you are going to do any of this at home, you have to have a library card. And that library card is the barcode that is on the back of your student ID. If you do not have one of those, just stop by the library. They will set you up with one. If you're not sure how to use the Edison databases, I have provided some tutorials for you in the Tutorials, Resources, and Helpful Information folder. I provided a folder inside this folder called Library Information, and that has links to the library and to a bunch of different tutorials on using the databases. Additionally, if you need more help, you can go into the library and ask the librarians themselves for help on using the databases and finding articles. They are very, very helpful. The other requirement for the article is that it needs to directly discuss the story that you chose. It should not be just a general book review. It shouldn't be about a film adaptation. It shouldn't be, in another class we read Jekyll and Hyde, and sometimes there are articles that are about Jekyll and Hyde syndrome, where someone has two personalities type thing. It needs to actually be about the story, about the characters, the plot, the setting, something about the story itself. So make sure that you take the time to find a good article and don't wait until the very last minute on finding those. And again, if you have trouble finding something, the librarians are a very good resource on finding an article. So what do you need to include in your presentation? You need to briefly introduce the story. Because everybody is reading a different story, you will need to tell us about the story you chose. So give us a short summary, just a general idea of what the story is about. You don't need to tell us every small detail. This is not the focus of your presentation. I do not expect this to be very long. Just give us a general idea of what your story is about. Next, you need to summarize the article for us. The focus of your presentation should be the article, so make sure you give us a good summary. Pick out the highlights. You do not need to tell us every single piece of information from the article. Your goal here is to tell us what's the main point. What is the author's argument about the story that they provide in the article. So what are those main points from the article? The analysis of the article, this is going to be the biggest part of your presentation. What is the author's argument, and what do you think of it? Do you agree? Do you think it's valid? Why or why not? Did they do a good job making their argument? And this is important. You need to use the story to back up your analysis. So you need to provide some kind of information from the story to support your view on the article. So if you think it's a good argument, you should find a passage that supports the article's argument. If you think that it's maybe not the best argument, can you find something from the story that provides an alternate view? Bring in some evidence from the actual story into your discussion. So find some kind of quote, a passage, an event, something from the story that helps you make your point. So you need to have some sort of evidence from the story to relate to the article in your analysis of it. You do need to include a slide, or however you're doing your presentation, because you do not have to do a PowerPoint. So I know slide here is maybe not the best word to use, but you do need to include a works cited in some way. And you need to have 2 MLA citations for your works cited. One for the story that you chose and one for the article. If you're a little bit unsure on MLA citations, I do need these to be correct. In that same tutorials, resources, and helpful information folder, there is a folder on MLA citation resources. And when you open that up, there's going to be example citations. And when you pull that up, it's going to give you a document that has a bunch of sample citations. And you are going to specifically be looking at an essay in an anthology. You're actually doing a story, but it's the same thing. So that's how you're going to cite the story that you chose. So use that example. It should look just like that. And then for the article that you got from the database, you're going to use this example for article from a library database. Okay? So you need it to look just like that. I need that citation in particular to be correct because I need to know where your article came from so that I can find it and verify that you did get an article from Edison's databases, so I can find it and give you credit for that. So make sure you do have those citations. Without those citations, you won't get full credit for having the correct article and things like that. Now, audio-visual elements. What do I expect here? You're going to be presenting your information to the class just as you would in a traditional classroom. So think about, how do you give a presentation in the classroom? You make some kind of visual aid, maybe a PowerPoint or a Prezi or a poster, and then you stand up in front of the class and you present that information. You need to do the same concept here, but you need to record it in some way so that we can see it in the online classroom. So how you want to do this, it's up to you. You can be creative. You can create a YouTube video. A lot of people do PowerPoints or Prezis and they add audio to it. But whatever you do, you need to make sure that you have a visual element, which includes pictures, not just your script typed up on each slide. You want to make your PowerPoint or your presentation in whatever format it takes interesting to your audience, because your audience needs to watch it, and you need to watch other people's presentations, so you want them to be interesting. And it also needs to have that audio. It needs to be you presenting your information, so don't just rely on reading the slides and hope that your viewer gets what you want to say. You need to present your information. So there are lots of ways that you can do this. PowerPoint, for example, has a lot of different options. You can insert audio right onto a slide. So you can record audio in PowerPoint, or you can choose audio files that you've already recorded, and they'll put this little symbol right on your slide that you can click and then listen to your audio. They've also got slideshow mode, which lets you record slideshow. So you can make your presentation and then record your slideshow. It'll record your audio so that it'll just play through as a presentation with your presentation over top of it, your audio over top of it. There are also options. You can do Prezi. That'll